the the concept of critical race theory and whether or not critical race theory should be taught, and this whole debate, it's literally about shame. It really comes down to, you don't want your children to see that you installed laws, not just recent, but historically, that there have been laws established on a federal level and within the states that have been designed to allow people to just rain down inhumane human rights violation against other people, in the name of a dollar. It's ugly, and that's what it comes down to. It's not about whether or not it's true or not. These things did happen because we didn't write into law that we're only 3/5 of a man. We didn't write that into law. We didn't establish black codes that ban black people from possessing firearms and preventing them from testifying in court. If it's not a case dealing with just black people, or we didn't invent these rules. That not just the whole thing about these are niggers, this is a chattel, this isn't an actual human being, and we didn't write that into law either. But all the other things that were established, we didn't write these things into law, and it's really ugly to think about, your founding fathers and this wonderful country and everything, that it was criminally established by enforcing legislation that would allow people to be dehumanized. And it's nasty, it's ugly. But the point of the matter is, we don't have a shot at realizing a society where this gets cleaned up until people acknowledge that this is going on. It's happening, even after slavery was over, the whole thing with, one of the black codes where you can't be anything but a farmer or a servant, and if you are any other occupation, you have to pay between a $10 and $100 tax, or, get a license from a court to have another occupation. Like, this applied to black people only. Like, we didn't write this legislation, but these were laws. The whole thing about we couldn't go to school with people who were white. We couldn't, the whole separate, we didn't write these laws. These laws were designed not only to lower the probability that black people were able to move ahead, it also was government sanctioned discrimination, government sanctioned inequality, and the public, the communities buying into that way of thinking. This is why, on a mass level, it was okay to treat people like this. It was okay. And the mentality is there, and it's still going on. And pretending that it's not going on, that's part of the problem of what's going on in this country. And until we acknowledge that there's a mess, it's never going to get cleaned up. I'm not saying that people who are alive now were the ones who invented, race. I'm not saying that they invented it, but continuing to buy into this system is why we're still dealing with this problem, these attitudes. The United States has historically been a breeding ground for white supremacists, the way that they think, even with passive racism and just allowing laws and rules and, statutes to go ahead that disproportionately affect certain people, even without saying black. Poor families, poor black families, who, if you have an able-bodied male living in your residence, and if they're able to work and they're an adult, you don't qualify for food stamps. But what does that mean for black families? Now we have a disproportionate numbers of black families that are broken, where there's not a man in there, because the woman wants to feed her kids, but Then at the same time, if they're staying together, who's hiring that black man if he's not a sharecropper or a servant? So it's like, it's without saying black directly. Let's take the conditions, the categories, the likelihood that they're going to fall into this group, and let's discriminate. Let's write laws that discriminate against this group. That's what kept being done, and pretending that that's not what happened. That I won't even call it fantasy land. That's stupid. It's stupid. And if we are going to have a prayer of fixing this and making sure that the lineage of people of European descent in this country, that their lineage, what they've left behind, does not become your personal legacy, if we're going to seriously get to a point where you create a new legacy for yourselves, all of that needs to be ripped up. And that's not me saying it. Remember, we didn't write these laws. James Baldwin said something very amazing. He posed this question. He said that, the whole thing about white people need to ask themselves, or to ask them, what is a nigger and why did you need one? He said, because I'm not a nigger. I'm a man. That's what he said. And it's true. And without being able to answer that honestly, things are going to stay like this. Because those attitudes, people are still buying into it. Why? Because they learned it from their families and they kept passing it down generation to generation. You can pretend all you want that it doesn't exist. That's what's going on. And I encourage anybody who's an educator or an advocate about, trying to teach the history and trying to really create some peace and some healing, I encourage you to continue. Just because, your lineage did it doesn't mean that you have to keep doing it. You don't have to keep doing it. You might come from a long line of thieves or a long line of enslavers or a long line of murderers or rapists or what, you don't know. But you don't have to do what they did. Your job is to look at the humanity in your heart and do the best that you can to say, I don't want to be part of that stuff. It doesn't matter if you're related to those people. You have to make that decision, and we can't make that for you. This is not our mess to clean up. We didn't do it. We didn't do it. So just consider, you might want to get on that, because we didn't do that, but the discussion needs to get had. And every moment that goes by where people of European descent in this country continue to ignore it, it looks nastier and nastier, and it needs to stop. It's got to stop. If you wanted to, or you can just still look like you endorse, and you endorse criminality, because that's what it is. It's government sanctioned criminality. You don't have to listen to me. You go look up the laws. Look up some of the black codes. Go do your research. Be honest. Don't see what you want to see. See what is actually there. See what's actually there. If you look at what's actually there, you'd be surprised at some of the stuff that you would find, But again, that doesn't have to be a legacy. Create something new. Create something new, because this thing was never established legally anyway. It needs to be rewritten in a fashion that serves all of us. And right now, it is not like that. It is not like that.